Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, I'm Not Your Uber. After that, No, I Won't Land the Plane in a Field. After that, Entitled Mom and her daughter proceed to disturb everyone. And after that, Entitled Mom wants me to rewrite her son's first ever LARP character because she thinks he deserves better. If you cannot stand entitled people, please let me know by smashing that like button. And if you're new, please subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. I'm Not Your Uber. I was picking my girlfriend up at the airport. This was a few years ago. Uber was already big, but not as big as it is now. Our nearest airport is in a major city, so it's always hectic picking somebody up. The cops, yellow vest traffic guys, don't like you waiting around at all. So I got there, and it's taking my girlfriend a few minutes longer to get her checked bag than we anticipated. I'm on the phone with her, and she says, I see it, I've gotta go, don't leave. So the traffic vest guy is waving at me, and I roll down my window and say, I'm picking somebody up, she's just on her way, etc., trying to buy myself some time. I hear my trunk open, and I'm so relieved. She jumps in the back, and I thought it was a little weird, but she took a red eye, and I figured she was just going to lie down in the back and go to sleep. I say something along the lines of, oh, perfect timing, how was your flight? And I couldn't hear her response. It was super loud with honking and cops shouting, so she closes the door, and I'm so focused on trying to find a spot to pull out, I don't even look back. I just say, you good? And she says, mm-hmm. And as I'm pulling out, I'm thinking, wait. And as I'm driving away, I look in the back and realize this woman is not my girlfriend. She's some teenager. I'm freaking out as I'm driving away and desperately looking for a spot to pull over. But by this point, I'm in the middle lane with rushing outflow of traffic. And when I finally saw a space, a cop or just a traffic director, I couldn't tell, very aggressively told me I couldn't stop there. While I'm trying to pull over, I'm like, who are you? Her, Molly. Molly? I don't know you. What is this? What are you doing? Were you expecting to know me? I'm so confused at this point. My heart is racing, and it's all I can do to not crash my car because it's 4 a.m. and a strange kid got in my car at the airport. And my first thought was I was being framed for a crime or something. I didn't know what to think. Me. Why are you in my car? I'm pulling over. Why are you pulling over? Me. I don't know you. Her. What? Me. What? Her. What is going on? Is this because it's a long trip? You can't cancel because of where I'm going. That's not allowed. I take a few seconds to try and figure out what she's talking about while merging into a busy highway. Then it hits me. Me. I am not your Uber. Her. What? Me. I'm pulling over. You're lying. Why would I lie about that? Look at your app. Does the driver look like me? Her. I don't know. It's blurry. You're driving a Toyota Camry. You are my Uber. Don't lie to me. Me. There were a dozen Toyotas back there. How could you be so dumb that you'd get into a strange car without checking first? At this point, she starts crying, and I feel bad for snapping. Me. Look, I'm sorry. I just don't want to appear on the news or anything, and you really caught me by surprise, and I'm sorry, I should not have yelled. I'm going to circle back around to the airport. I have to pick my girlfriend up anyways, so I'll bring you back, and her. No. Me. No? Her. No. Let me out. Let me out. She starts grabbing at the door handle of the moving car. Thankfully, it locks automatically when I start driving. Me. Oh my God. What are you doing? Her. I don't know you. My worst nightmare coming true. Me. Hey, it's okay. It's a mistake. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm taking you back to the airport. She's crying again. Me. This might be a bit of an overreaction, okay? It's fine. I'm not dangerous. I'm just clueless. Look, I'm going back to the airport. See? I'm taking the exit. Her.
You knew.
Me. Knew what?
You knew you weren't my Uber.
Truly and totally my worst nightmare ever coming true in this moment. No, I did not. I am taking you to the airport. See, terminal sign. We are 3 minutes away. Seriously. Her.
Stop!
Me. I can't stop here. This is a highway. There wasn't even a shoulder. Her. Crying.
Stop! Let me out. I don't believe you. Stop! I don't believe you.
I literally couldn't have stopped my car where we were without serious risk of causing a major accident, and it was not a safe place for a person to walk or even stand, so I was stuck. Her.
I'm calling 911 if you do not let me out.
Look, we are a minute from the airport. You can see the terminal. Look. She continues sobbing. We get there, I park, and thank God she didn't call the cops, and I see my many missed calls and texts from my poor girlfriend. This girl bolts out of my car, screaming,
Help! Help!
Cops and guys in yellow vests, whatever they are, surround my car. I'm taken for questioning, and it takes so long that my car is almost towed. Thankfully, they allowed my girlfriend to park it. Thankfully, it created such a spectacle that my girlfriend was able to notice this happening and vouch for my being at the airport to pick her up and not pose as an Uber driver to pick someone up and park my car. By the end, the misunderstanding was completely sorted out, and the girl had calmed down, and she and her parents over the phone apologized and explained it was her first time traveling alone or being in a large city and she was on edge. They never came right out and admitted fault, but did say they wished there hadn't been such a misunderstanding. Now I can look back and laugh, but at the time, it was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced, and it was months until I could stop my car with the doors unlocked again. Next we've got, no, I won't land the plane in a field. Note, all names have been changed for privacy reasons. Small backstory. My dad was a pilot for about 20 years before retiring 8 years ago due to poor health. But in that time, my dad had many different jobs in aviation, so he could build up his flight hours and get better pay. That, and my dad doesn't like to stay in one job for too long if they refuse to let him come home and spend time with my brother and I growing up. He would often be in other states or other countries for days/weeks at a time, so he had a lot of stories to tell. This is one of my favorites he told me, so I figured I should tell it here. Flying was his passion, but he had flown with a lot of entitled people through the years. Though I'm going to give the entitled man in this story a name, since obviously my dad couldn't tell me his real name. Also, I'm sorry, I'm going to try my best to remember a few things. The story. This story happened when I was little, about 5 or 6, and my dad had been out of our state for about 2 weeks, flying a lot of important and powerful business people around the US. He was a charter pilot, so he was used to flying small private planes. He was exhausted from his intense flight schedule, but he is an extremely hard worker, so he made sure to power through into the 3rd and final week. The job he had on this particular day was to take a man, who will be called Jason, from one state to a neighboring one, so Jason could go home. About a 4-hour flight that took them over the Rocky Mountains, but nothing too bad. To my dad, that was a very easy flight, so he was relieved that he could get some rest for the rest of the day. So as usual, my dad got up at the crack of dawn and headed over to the airport so he could prepare the plane. He already put in the flight plan a day or so in advance, and all he had to do was have the plane pulled out of the hangar and clean it up so it would be ready when Jason showed up. He always did this because he wanted to make sure his passengers were always stocked on snacks and drinks so they could enjoy their flight with him. It was about an hour before they were scheduled to take off, and Jason finally arrived with his assistant. Let's call her Nina. My dad is normally a patient man, but due to him having only about 3 or 4 hours to sleep every night for almost 3 weeks, he was standing in a silent rage while keeping the best professional appearance on his face. Jason was a very large man and didn't help my dad grab their bags and sat in the plane. Nina was about to help my dad load their bags into the plane. He stopped her and said, "Nina, come on. Let the help do their job. We need to discuss the meeting." My dad was very angry with Jason, and even though this was their first time he had met him, my dad already wanted to kick this jerk off his plane. But still, my dad kept silent and loaded up the plane on his own. With only a few minutes to spare, my dad was cleared for takeoff, and soon he was flying out of the airport, beginning the 4-hour flight. It had only been about an hour or 2 hours into the flight, and the whole time, Dad was doing his job flying the plane with the door closed. He didn't want to hear them past his headset, since Jason was loud and obnoxiously talking about how much money he was worth, or how amazing his family was thanks to his money. What prompted him to close the door was this conversation. Nina: "Congratulations on striking the deal with the company, sir." Jason: "Of course I struck the deal. If they didn't, they would be garbage and not worth the CEO's time or money." Nina: "Speaking of money, you said your son will be going to college soon, right? Did you go with your wife's idea of letting him apply for scholarships?" Jason: "Heck no. My son is going to Harvard on my dime. I won't allow my son to be in debt like some middle-class common worker." Edit: he really believed scholarships were the same as loans. "He has our family name, and anyone who cannot afford to go to an elite college like Harvard is better off being the help." With Jason referring to middle class as the help, the same name he called him when they were leaving, my dad despised this man. So he closed the door and continued to fly, though his solitude was not long enough, as Jason opened the door to talk to my dad. So my dad kept his best poker face while staring straight at his console. Dad: "Yes, sir?" Jason: "Are we there yet? I need to use the bathroom." Dad: "Not yet, sir. We still have about 2 hours to go. There is a bathroom on the back of the plane with a privacy door. You can use that." Jason: his face wrinkles in disgust: "And use something that is like a common porta potty? I won't. Can't this plane go any faster?" Dad: "No, sir. I need to make sure we don't run out of fuel, and we will be crossing over the mountains shortly." Jason: "This is ridiculous. Land this plane now. I know we are near another airport." Dad: "I'm afraid I can't do that, sir." "And why the heck not? I told you to land." Finally, having enough of this man, Dad turns to look up into his eyes with pure anger. In truth, Dad could have tried to get permission to land from the closest tower, but he was not about to have someone like him have him risk his perfect flying record. So he hatches a sadistic plan in his head. Dad: "With all due respect, sir, no one tells me when to land my plane. Ever. And the last city before the mountains we passed already." Jason: "Ugh, don't lie to me. Just land." Dad: "Unless you plan on peeing in the bushes or out in an open field, I suggest you use the bathroom in the back." Jason: "This is ridiculous. Just land." Dad: "I won't land until we get there." "So where am I supposed to use the bathroom?" Dad, trying not to give an evil smile: "I guess you're going to have to hold it. Now, sit down." With that, he closed and locked his door so Jason would have to leave him alone. Though before he did, he caught a glimpse of Nina, who looked frustrated and embarrassed. Dad figured she was used to him doing this before, and with someone throwing their power around, it wouldn't be long before he lost his own job. His phrase to me growing up was always, "Keep your head down, do your job, and do it well." Lazy or entitled people always shoot themselves in the foot eventually. Shine above the rest. The 2 hours finally passed, and as they landed at the airport, my dad began to carefully make his way towards the terminal. He had to go around a few of the taxiways to make it to the ramp, which is usually a slow process. Though in this case, my dad made sure to go nice and slow, just to spite Jason. Soon, as they were approaching the ramp, Dad could feel the plane shake, and he opened his door to see what was happening. Nina was calling out to Jason, who had already managed to somehow finagle the hatch door open to the plane. Jason got out, and once he was on the pavement, he ran around the front of the plane and turbines and headed towards the terminal as fast as his massive body could carry him. As my dad tells me this story, he begins to laugh and tells me, Nina and the terminal reported him. Jason lost his job and got into major trouble with the FAA. But dang, in all my years of flying, I have never seen a fat boy run so fast. Questions asked or things said. 1. Did your dad lose his job because of this? No, my dad had to file a report about what happened to his boss, but his boss told him he was not in trouble. Dad was very professional in his field, but he also knew how to handle any passengers that posed a security risk. My dad did everything he was supposed to, and, according to Dad, his boss was impressed at how he handled Jason. When Jason got out of the plane, my dad immediately hit the brakes since he was going very slow, so my dad made sure the dingus didn't get hurt. What happened to Nina? I'm not sure, but all I know is she reported what happened to the CEO they worked for, and the FAA found out what happened. Jason was fired, but Nina kept her job. That's all I know, since Dad never really talked specifics about regulations. 3. What happened to Jason with the FAA? All I know is he lost his job and got into a buttload of trouble. Next we've got Entitled Mom and her daughter proceed to disturb everyone. Cast. We've got Entitled Mom, we've got Entitled Girl, we've got me, we've got students 1 through 4, and the librarian. So a while back, I had loads of homework to do, so I went to the library with my friends, the students. There were a couple of quiet little kids, a bit older, louder kids, an Entitled Mom and Entitled Girl. So we sit down, get out our books, and search for some books for our essay that we had to write. Entitled Mom spots us and whispered something to her daughter, Entitled Girl, who was sipping on her bubble tea, or some of you call it boba. A few moments later, we noticed the girl looking at our books and our homework. I looked at student 1, and she also looks confused, very confused. So we go back to our seats with our books and start writing our essays. We had to write an essay and do a presentation over it, so I chose the theme animals that will soon go extinct. As soon as I started writing, Entitled Girl comes over again and closes the book just to see the cover. I was like, what the heck? So she looks at it, and a while later, this was the conversation. Me. Can I help you? Entitled Girl. No, I just want to look at this cover. She stared at it for like 10 minutes. Me. Can I continue writing now? It's important. Entitled Girl. No, I'm still looking at the cover. Me. This is important, so please let me continue. They have another book of this. Entitled Girl. Okay. She then just grabs it and goes back to her mom. I just assume it's her mom. Student 4. Just go grab the other one. Me. Okay, fine. I go grab the other book, and I still don't know why they have 2 of them, and continue my essay. A few minutes later, Entitled Girl goes to the shelves with the books on them, and Entitled Mom didn't notice. She sees me with the same book as her daughter's that she just stole from me and comes over. Entitled Mom. Why do you have my daughter's book? Me. Ma'am, this isn't your daughter's book. Entitled Mom, full alien screech. That is my daughter's book. She just read it next to me. Me. Ma'am, please don't yell at me, or I will call the librarian. Are you threatening me? Still screeching. While she screeched, everyone looked at her, even the loud kids. My friends were already screaming at her too. I was just thinking how dumb that lady is. The librarian came over because of Entitled Mom and told them to quiet down or she'll have to leave. Entitled Mom just sat back down and kept the book. So Entitled Girl came back from the shelves and asked me, Why'd you lie that they have another book in the bag? Me. I didn't. I took the other book because you took mine. I was about to laugh, but held it in because she looked angry. But after she saw that I did have the other book, she became a bit embarrassed and went away. Now she was sipping on her boba very loud. So of course, because they had enough problems with me, I asked student 3 to ask if she could quiet down, and she sipped even louder. There wasn't even anything in there. So after we finished our essays while being disturbed by Entitled Girl and Entitled Mom, we put our books back, and I had quite problems to remember where the books were, so I looked for quite a bit. After I found the location, because the librarian came over and told me where it was, which was a bit embarrassing, I packed my stuff and noticed my sketchbook is gone. I sketch sometimes because of boredom. There wasn't much of it, but my aunt gave it to me, and I worked very long on drawings, and I immediately knew who it was. Of course, y'all also know who it was. It was Entitled Mom or Entitled Girl. Why do these two have to be such problem makers? So anyways, I already saw the sketchbook in her hands, so I went to grab it, and y'all already know what happened. Entitled Mom.
Blah, blah, blah. That's the sketchbook of my daughter.
Entitled Girl.
Blah, blah. That's mine, you jerk.
Me. No, it's not. My name is on it.
Prove it, you jerk.
I show her my ID, and then they got kicked out by the librarian because she had enough of her. I also got the sketchbook back. We were already about to leave, and thank God we didn't see her. Next we've got Entitled Mom wants me to rewrite her son's first ever LARP character because she thinks he deserves better. So let me give you a little background on how a pay-to-attend single event LARP works. After we fill the spaces available, usually first come, first served through the payment of a deposit, the ref team comes together and starts working on characters. We get the players to fill in a survey for us about their character preferences, anything we need to avoid, any personality traits they'd like to have, gender, whether they have an in-game relationship, etc. Some people give us lots of details, others are just happy to tell us what we should avoid. Now usually, we are familiar with a lot of the players participating, so we have an idea of what they play well, what they best suit, etc. You don't shove an incredibly shy person into a big commanding leadership role unless they specifically request it. Down the line, the players then receive a good 6 to 8 character backstory written by a member of the ref team. I can't tell you how awesome it is to have them come up to you on release day and be like, "Holy crap, dude, I love my character." Anyway, the LARP in question for this story was this really cool, really tense weekend event focused around a group of freedom fighters in an unspecified Civil War type scenario. As the group planned a big attack, they had to deal with drama within the group, as well as a slowly intensifying assault from an unknown, unseen, supernatural enemy. To the ref team's surprise, one of the players who signed up was a freshman we shall call Entitled Moneybags Undergrad, or EMU. This event took place in the second semester, so EMU had been in the College Role-Playing Society, where 90% of our players came from, for a semester. He had never shown any interest in the LARP events run by the society, but he had been fairly active in the tabletop side of things. Anyway, EMU signs up in person, as most of the refs attended society meetings, and we were like, okay, cool, someone new. He didn't put much on his character survey, like barely anything if we're being honest, and his own, specific request was that he have a role where he had a lot to do. As I was the only writer who vaguely knew him, he played in one of the tabletop campaigns I was running for the society. I was assigned EMU as one of my characters to write. In short, EMU's character was the radio operator of the player party. It was a decently important role, and the radio started off as broken at the start of the event, meaning he would have to spend some time fixing it. I also knew from my tabletop game, and from speaking to the DMs of the other games he was in, that he had a tendency to be immature and mess around a little bit. And besides, this was his first LARP ever by his own account, so we didn't want to thrust him into anything too major. So in the end, I make this really cool character. He's a little cocky, a bit of a joker, but he respects the chain of command. I figured this would allow him to play the slightly immature character he seemed to prefer playing in tabletop games without it ruining the experience of others. Besides, everything we were using as inspiration, Alien, Assault on Precinct 13, etc., had that jokey character. It was just fitting for the genre of the game. So release day, about 2 months before the game, comes around, and the players I had been assigned, 4 of the 16, love their characters. Even EMU seemed happy enough. But that night, I get home from my bartending job to find an email. Dear Mr. OP, I am led to believe that you are the one to speak to about this acting event my son is involved in. I would like to know as to why my son has been relegated to some superfluous minor role when he says he asked for the lead. Please rectify this immediately, or we shall be demanding a refund. Mrs. Emu's mother. In all my years of running games, I had never received anything like this. Sure, people had asked for minor tweaks to their character, usually because they felt they would struggle to tackle the role given to them, or they just wanted some small details changed. OP, I just want to butt in here and ask why you didn't just give the boy the main role. I've read enough entitled parent stories to know that that is not what you did. Hi there, preemptive comment section resident. I'm not sure how you got in here, but let me address your question while I have you. There are two reasons why this story will not see Emu take on a starring role in the LARP. Firstly, the leader of the Freedom Fighters was being played by a plant, someone we had placed in the player party without the knowledge of the other players, basically a deep cover NPC. This was because they were going to be the first to go to the mysterious entity attack on the Freedom Fighters, just to add a little more chaos. Secondly, Emu was a complete unknown. No one had seen him LARP, and by his own admission, he had never done this before. We tended to reserve leadership roles to known LARPers, just so the role wouldn't be undermined. It sucks, I know, but we have to consider the enjoyment level of 16 players, and most of the time, try to avoid a veteran player usurping the leadership tropes from an inexperienced player. Anywho, I reached out to Emu and asked if we could meet up for coffee that weekend to talk this over. He says okay, and a few days later, I meet him on campus. However, the dude shows up with his mom. Turns out she's visiting for the weekend and is at the meeting to make sure I don't bully her kid or whatever. Me. Hi, Emu. So I'll get right to it. I just wanted to sit down with you and see what we can do to make your character better for you. I was sorry to hear that you didn't enjoy what I had written for you. Emu. No, it's just, I don't know. It seemed a little boring. Emu's mom. My son is such a talented actor. He deserves the lead. Me. Just straight up ignoring the mom. What was boring about it? Emu. I don't know. I just don't want to be sat by a radio wall game while everyone else does cool stuff. Me. Completely understanding where he's coming from because I felt that way at my first LARP as a player. Well, honestly, that's just who you are at the start of the game. Remember, this thing runs Friday to Sunday, and you know it isn't just going to stick to the pitch we gave you. And besides, radio operator is going to be a really vital role in the scenario of the game. I get how you feel. I haven't loved some of the characters I've been given, but the thing you have to do is just play the role. Get involved. You're only going to be set by a radio all game if you choose to sit by a radio all game. Don't worry, there are going to be things for you to do in that role, and you will 100% be able to interact with the main story and all that. Emu. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I was being a little short-sighted. Emu's mom. Don't apologize to this bully, baby. You, to me, will not just sweet-talk your way into keeping my son in this awful role. Emu. Mom, it's fine. Emu's mom. No, I paid a lot of money for you to do this, and I will get my money's worth. I start to try and explain about how we didn't want to overwhelm her son in his first ever LARP, how he didn't give us a lot of stuff to work with, and how, since everyone is paying the same, there is no inherent advantage to any one character. Of course, she cuts me off. Emu's mom. I don't want to hear it. Make my son the star, or we shall be demanding a refund. Me. 1, I won't. And 2, it's non-refundable, and your son knew that when he signed up. Then I'll sue. Emu. Mom, please. Emu's mom. No, Emu, we're going. I'll see you in court, young man. Me. I look forward to hearing from your lawyers. Emu's mom drags her son out of the coffee shop, screeching about how she's going to sue, yada yada yada. At the next society meeting, Emu, or rather reformed entitled Moneybags undergrad, after I took the time to explain why he wasn't just going to be made a lead character in his first ever LARP, apologized for his mom and said that she probably wasn't going to sue. Apparently, she had just said that a lot, because it got her free stuff now and then. I didn't get sued, and he went on to really enjoy the game. As I had said, the radio operator was a pretty vital role, and even he got to die a big hero's death as he sealed himself in a room with a traitor and some of the monsters that had been attacking the party. And shoutouts to our re-generals of the day, Chissy Spider, Miss October Storm, Lisa, and Boom Gaming. Become tomorrow's re-generals by leaving as many re's as you can in the comments below.